Morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning for the Totango webinar series. Today, we're going to be talking about exploring your customers with Totango segments. And I'm very happy that you were able to make it for our session today. So a little bit about me, if you haven't been to any of our webinars or haven't worked with me before. I'm Cecilia Tavel. I work with our customer success programs here at Totango, and I've been here for just about over 3 years, 3.5 years almost, and super excited to be chatting with you, sharing best practices, and learning with you collaboratively as to how to improve customer success with the help of Totango. Just wanted to let everybody know, if you are hungry for more knowledge sessions or more resources, we do have a support site. So if you just remember the URL, support.totango.com, actually will take you to a more general page, but there's a training section that will contain all these elements, and you can actually register for upcoming sessions. There's a bunch of webinars already on the schedule, so feel free to select the ones that are interesting to you. We also have a lot of on-demand sessions, so all of our previous webinars have been posted and recorded, so you can review them at your leisure. And we've also started doing hot tips of the week, and hopefully you've been enjoying those. But if you want to refer back to any of the historic tips of the week, they're available for you as well. Quick little videos really focused on the specific functional areas of Totango. So just wanted to give everybody a little brief on that, just in case you're looking for more. And for today, we're going to be talking about, how to create account and user level segments to answer any of the interesting questions that you have about your customers. We'll build successfully in campaigns directly from segments, and we'll also talk about how to create visuals via reports, also leveraging the segments capabilities. So with that, actually, I'm going to go directly into our demo environment to actually walk you through all of this. Also, just to let you know, we do have, hopefully we'll have some time for questions. If you do have some questions that are going to come up during the session, you can type them into the question box, and we will address them as many as we can if we have the time. So to start with the segments, I'm going to navigate to the left navigation panel on the segments section. I already have some stuff that I prepared for myself in here in this folder for segments, but I do want to show you how to create one from scratch. So basically you are going to click on create. You have 3 levels of things that you can create here. You can create folders, you can create account segments and user segments. I would say, foldering is important to keep things organized. So let me start with an account level segment. And basically what will happen, you'll get a display here that will show you all the different components that you can leverage for your filtering. So I'm going to keep it pretty straightforward for a basic example. So I'm going to select my status type to be my paying customers. I'm also going to look for customers that are above a certain contract value. And maybe there's something specific that I'm looking for. So an attribute can come either from your CRM system like Salesforce or potentially from your product directly. I'm going to look for an account type because I only want to look for a specific type of customers. I really love using the is one of. That's the one that allows me to actually click in this box and select any of the options without having to remember what options are available to me. I'm only going to look at key accounts for my particular segmentation today. And once I'm happy with my definition for my segment, I can click on apply. And what I'll get is a list of customers that fit the criteria that I have specified. Some of the cool things with the segments and building them, you get the default columns, but what you can also do is if there's something missing or some other information that you're looking to expose within your results in this view, you can actually click on this little plus on the right side to select other columns. And then you can essentially bring in anything that's important for you to analyze. So maybe I want to look at who's the success manager here as well. And then maybe I want to actually look at, how this customer has been using my product. So maybe I want to look at how they're using my documents module and how many times that module was used in the last 14 days. I can also change the time frame to another date range, but for now I'm going to just keep it at 14 days. And then maybe I want to see how many reports they've been using or how much they've been using the reports module. And then there's also specific granularity on the activity count. So any activity that you track in Totango can be summarized, and you can give the total number of activities or those things that were performed. So for example, if I want to see how many times a document was created, I can also expose that. So it really allows you to customize the data that you actually see in the results page. So once I've added my columns, now I can see my success manager. I can see how many documents were created and how, how many times the reports module was used. So all of that is very much available to me. And I can also take this data if I need to. I can take it somewhere else. So I can actually download this as a CSV. And for some of the technical folks, may get excited about the Generate API endpoint. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to save my segment just to make sure that I don't lose it. And I'm going to just give it a meaningful name, obviously, so that it makes sense when you look for it again. Segments webinar, that's what I'm going to call it. You can give it a little description, and you can also put it in the folder that's available for you. So I'm going to put it in my segments folder. I can also add triggers or tags, so on entry and remove on exit. I can also get notified by email if for whatever reason I need to get alerted if there's a new customer that meets the criteria within my segment. I would say keep the segments that you create private unless they're meant for global teams consumption. So I'm going to save it. And the little new capability that is presented here once you have saved your segment is this little eyeball here. And the eyeball allows you to follow a segment. So if you actually click on this, it will subscribe you to get a daily digest of the contents of this particular segment. So if you ever need to monitor a list, you can actually follow it. The other thing I can do, which is really neat, is I can group by any specific data point or attribute. So for example, if I want to just get my results and view it by my success manager, I can group it by success manager. And the results will look slightly different. Now I'll just have a summary per success manager, how many accounts they have that meet the criteria that I've specified, the total contract value, and the health distribution. So that's pretty neat as well. And I can remove it if I don't need that grouping anymore. The other thing to note is the all accounts versus my accounts. So all the segments that you create by default will be all accounts. If you click on my accounts, if you are a CSM and you have accounts in your portfolio, this will automatically switch to only accounts that you manage. So you can just review your own information instead of looking at everybody else's. So that's essentially the the process of building a segment. Building a user level segment is very similar. It's just only looking at user level information. So I'm not going to spend time on actually building a user level segment, but it basically will model the same type of process. The next thing I wanted to show you is the ability to actually directly link into a success play from your segment. So if you were going to launch and build a success play directly from the segment, you can actually click on this play button icon, and it's going to take you directly into the building capabilities of a success play. And again, success plays are Totango's components of operationalization. So if you're looking to streamline your processes and build a consistent process for your team based on some predefined criteria, success plays are there for you. So you can actually specify what the team members need to do. And whenever the conditions are met, the tasks will get assigned to your individual CSMs. So to build a success play from here, I can just simply, give it a name and description. All of my conditions are already available to me because I linked directly from the segment into this. I have my preview of my segment. I can also scroll down to make sure that I have the right audience in here as far as my accounts. And then I can click on continue, specify what my task is. Maybe it's reach out to have a, maybe like a QBR conversation or whatever the process may be that you're working on. You can assign it to the specific individual. You can specify who it's assigned by and then give it priority, high, normal, or low, and a due date. Once you have specified all this information, you can click on continue. You have another opportunity to review your specific success play, and from here you can activate it right away. So if I activate it, it's going to tell me how many tasks are going to be created, how many accounts are going to be affected. And when I click on continue, my tasks are going to get sent to my CSMs, and they'll also get a notification in their My Portfolio. So that's a success play capabilities that are actually, you can build them directly from a segment. So I'm going to go back to my segments. I'm going to go back to my folder that I created, and I have a few interesting segments that I created. So, I've created a couple of segments of accounts that are over $1,000 in revenue, and they're not using the documents module. So if I'm going to, let's say, work on a process, or I'm going to actually work on a communication plan for getting my customers that are not using my documents capabilities, and I'm going to invite them or educate them somehow via my campaign. So the campaigns capability in Totango is the capability that allows you to actually communicate to your customers via email. So I want to create a campaign from here, and I want to build the campaign to educate and promote the usage of documents module within my account. So what I can do, I'm actually going to go to campaigns, and I'm going to build a campaign here, and I'm going to just create a new one, and I'll just call this test for now just to make it faster. And for now, I'm just going to build my own custom campaign. That's the one I'm going to select. And instead of defining all my logic here, if I already have a segment that is being leveraged, or the logic is already there, I can actually look for this and say is in list. And I'm going to look for my account or my segment that is doing this for me. So I'm going to okay, so I'm going to just select this one for now, but if you find the right list, you can actually infuse it into the logic, so you don't have to recreate the logic. And then once it's there, I can click on continue. And this is where I can actually specify a goal. So for example, if my target right now is to get my customers that are not using my documents module to use the documents module, the goal criteria is very, very powerful, because I can actually look for this usage. So I can actually say, using modules, and I can look for my documents module. And let's say my goal is for, after this campaign that I'm doing, to get my customers to use the documents module at least 2 times in the next 14 days. Let's just assume that's sufficient. And when I click on save, now when I launch my campaign, I can actually track against this goal and see if my customers are starting to use this particular area of my product, which makes it really, really powerful. So then I click on continue. I can give my message a really precise and really catchy email subject. I can specify the sender, so it can come directly from the success manager. So it's very much intimate interaction between the customer success manager and their customer. And then I can also specify fallback. If for some reason there's no success manager assigned, there could be a fallback email and a name. And then I have a bunch of templates I can use. So if I wanted to make this kind of rich and visual, I can select my kind of rich templates, but I can also make it very plain and just have a plain text template and really make it seem like more of a one-to-one communication. With all of this, I can fuse the data points that I have in Totango, so I can actually make this very specific and address it to the individual that it's going to by selecting the first name. If I don't have the first name, I can just say hi there. And again, some of you may have already seen this, but I want to highlight this really quick because any of the data in Totango, you can use it and infuse it into the body of your message. So if you're, for example, targeting your customers that are of a certain account type, you can actually say, hi, you're one of our enterprise customers, and we are launching, something very specific for you to meet the needs of customers like yourself. We're going to, invite you to a webinar, or we're going to, promote something. So you can actually infuse all that data, and when it arrives in the end user's inbox, the information that's going to be presented is going to be, tuned and customized to them. So it's very, very nice. So let's assume my message is ready. Basically, the next thing I would need to do is preview it to make sure everything looks correct and aligns correctly. I can send myself a test message. Once I have tested everything, I can click on continue and proceed forward. I'll review my message again and schedule it. So I have a few scheduling options here. I can schedule it once, schedule for later. that allows me to select a future date. I also have an ongoing campaign that I can set up, which means that, whenever there's a new account that meets the criteria, they'll get an email. I can also schedule it ongoing, schedule for later. And my last one is the recurring one. So if you guys have seen our Monday morning success beats, those are recurring campaigns for us. Basically, it goes to the same audience weekly, but the contents and the data fluctuate. So the actual numbers change when you get an email every Monday. Things change from the previous week. So but the message is the same, and it goes to the same audience. So that's the recurring capability. Once I'm scheduling, once I've decided what the date and time frame is, I can click on continue, and my campaign is going to be scheduled or sent right away if I'm sending it right away. So those are the two capabilities that I wanted to highlight that are also kind of related to segments, because you can leverage the segment logic and launch directly into these capabilities from Totango. The other thing I wanted to show you as well is the capability of building reports from segments. So reports in Totango are built from these segments. So segments are the building blocks. So if we're going to look at reports, and if we're going to create one report using the segments that we have, basically you just have to click in here and look for the specific segment that you're interested in building. So for example, if I'm looking for all of my accounts that are not using documents, and I'm going to make this red because I don't like that. That's not good. I want them to use it. And then the ones that are using. So this one, I will actually make it green. And you can customize the name. So you can change the name of the segment if you want to. Again, the colors are there. So if, assuming those are the only two segments I'm working with or looking to build a report from, as soon as I add them, I get my trend line. So I have, the number of customers that are using and the number that are not using. And I have, the last 30 days right now. I can also change this time frame to a different time frame if I want to. So I have my options. The other cool thing about reports is I can actually slice my data by any data point. So I can actually look for who's my success manager on these particular segments. I can bring that into my report. I can also look for maybe contract value, if that's interesting. I can also expose my renewal date. So anything really, any of the data that is in Totango from your system or your CRM, you can bring it in and use that as a kind of a slicer for your report. So as soon as I've added this, all of these components are available to me. So now I can see my success manager, how we're doing, how many customers each one has, how many customers per CSM are using a particular the documents module, how many aren't. So then you can actually click on and look at the accounts that are maybe lagging. So the ones that are not using, these might be the ones that Robin needs to focus on. So as a team, you can actually have this visibility for everybody to refer to and kind of keep an eye on. You can also change how this is broken out. So if I wanted to change the display of this, I can click on Edit Breakdown, and I can see this in a table view if I want to. I can also change the interval to make it more wide or narrow as needed. Click on OK. And now that I've done that, now I have this table instead of the other view. And I can actually see per contract value how many accounts I have in each bucket. So it allows me kind of a slightly different view of the same data. So you can decide what makes more sense when you're building these out. After I save my report, I can give it a meaningful name again in the description. I can also repurpose my report later if I want to. Let's say save it as new and simply swap out the segments so that I don't have to replicate all my work. When I build another segment or another report that's going to essentially follow the same structure. So you can build some of these skeletons out. And then just swap out the segments to make your life easier. Again, just to let you know, all of these dates or data points on the report, they represent a day. We take a daily snapshot of the data at the end of the day. And so the last data point that you see here is always going to be the day prior. So it's going to be yesterday. So yesterday was Wednesday. So that's kind of just a quick FYI in case you're looking at this and realize that it's not showing you today, it's showing you yesterday. So that's the report. So for now, that's basically kind of a high level, pretty quick overview of all of this, segmentation and infusion of the processes via success plays and also customer communication campaigns, and also building the reports capabilities. If anybody has any questions, we have a few minutes, so feel free to type them into the question box and we will address them at this point. So I already have a question that came in. So we have a question: is there a way to export a report in a graphical format, Snapshot, to internal team members who aren't Totango users? That's a great question. So right now, currently that part of it is not available. So the best suggestion that I have for you at the moment is to take a screenshot of the report. So take the screenshot of the area that is relevant or interesting for you, and then allow your team to review that. The portion that the exportable portions here, there are some areas like this that you can export to CSV, but it's not the kind of the whole view. Basically, it just takes the data out like this. So I would say the best bet right now is to take a screenshot and send it to the team. Also, if you have if your team members have access to Tango, maybe there's other departments that would also like to leverage it and use it. You can simply build some of the key reports that everyone should be monitoring and looking at regularly, and instruct them, or tell them where to find them, and then everybody can just log in and review the data, as needed, at the cadence that is interesting to them. I hope that helps. Okay, so someone is asking, so about clarifying the difference between success plays and campaigns, and then also the difference between ongoing and recurring campaigns. So the difference between success plays and campaigns. So if you think about success plays, usually I like to kind of think about them as more internal facing. So if you have a customer success department and they're responsible for driving the customer success forward with the customers, if they're responsible for renewals, upsells, etc., or there's an onboarding process, success plays allow the team to have a process that's consistently followed across individual team members. So for example, if there's an onboarding process, or if there's a specific milestone or step that needs to happen based on specific conditions, then you can actually define what that is and then assign a task via a success play directly to the specific customer success manager. So they'll consistently follow and execute on a process that's defined in a success play. So it's an internal process. But the internal process can also prompt them to do something externally. So you could say, now's the time to have your QBR with your customer, prepare a QBR deck, and maybe, have an internal session with all the stakeholders, etc. So it will prompt them to start on their kind of internal process that needs to happen to be able to, have the QBR and prepare. So that's success plays. The campaigns are external facing customer communication. So if you think about kind of the messaging that goes out to a customer, via email. So those are campaigns. So you can actually use Totango as a standalone customer communication solution without needing to invest in a marketing automation system, and use the leverage, use all the data points and usage information, as well as kind of demographic information about your customers to better segment and better target your customers, users. So one campaign could be, like we just discussed, a customer not using documents. And we want to prompt them to use documents. We want them to use documents. We want to educate them on how to use documents. Maybe we're going to send them a very targeted, quick video so that they can be informed on maybe, learning how to take advantage of the capability that they just maybe weren't even aware existed. So there's a lot of powerful ways to use campaigns to drive your customer engagement forward, as well as just announce, specific new features or invite customers to webinars, etc. So that's your campaigns. The other question that you had, the difference between ongoing and recurring. So ongoing campaign, for example, let's say you have a new user welcome campaign. So any new user that signs up for a product, you send them a quick welcome email and you say, hi, welcome to our platform. We're happy to work with you. Here's a link to some documentation. Here's also a tutorial on how to get started. So that could be an ongoing campaign, because every new user that enters and starts with your system will get the same type of email, and it's going to happen one time. They'll get it one time. It's an ongoing campaign. A recurring campaign is something that we have, via Success Beats. You can have any kind of campaign that is recurring, and it's actually a campaign that goes to the same audience at the set time that you define. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, and the information within that campaign can change. So if you're infusing custom data points, like I showed you, where you're actually embedding the data that is being tracked into Tango, for example, how many times did someone view a report within the last 7 days? That number can fluctuate. So this week it could be 10, next week it could be 5. So when that a recurring campaign goes out, it can say, oh, great job. This week you viewed a report 5 times. Kudos. So the data will change, but the message will stay consistent and will be going to the same group of people on a recurring basis. So I hope that clarifies that. It can be a little bit confusing. Okay, so that covers it. We do have about a minute or so. I'm not sure if we'll have more time for questions, but I do want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. I hope this was a valuable session. We do hope to see you again. As I mentioned, there are a lot of upcoming webinars and sessions, so feel free to select the ones that are going to work for you and the ones that seem interesting. And also, bring your colleagues to these, share on-demand content, and share your feedback with us. We do want this to be meaningful and valuable for all of you, and we do appreciate your feedback. So we hope to hear from you soon. And again, if you have any questions for me directly, you can just send it to Cecilia@totango.com. And I look forward to working with you and seeing you again at our upcoming session. Have a great morning or afternoon, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.